Thanks for joining me for another episode of Discover the Joy with me, Joy Purdy. I'm excited about all the episodes, but this one in particular, because what's happening and what just happened right now while we're recording was the annual Alzheimer's Association International Conference. This is where we find out the latest and greatest treatments, research, anything having to do with Alzheimer's that researchers have found around the world comes out of this conference. So this is huge. And joining me in the car on our way home from the conference in Philly, home to Florida, is Stephanie Thompson Wardlow. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We're actually in North Carolina. It's like our fifth state that we've been through this morning. Roanoke Rapids, I believe, is where we're at. So yeah, we just stopped off so I could get online and talk to you and everybody that's listening. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be asked. And I'm super excited to share about all the Alzheimer's International Conference.
And I want to let everybody know that you oversee statewide outreach and awareness initiatives. So part of your job is to tell communities all across Florida about the current state of Alzheimer's and dementia research. So I can't wait to hear. And I am especially interested because my mother has dementia. She was diagnosed in 2018. So
Okay.
to know that there is so much work going on and to hear about it, let's go. So
Okay.
tell me, first, give us an idea of how important this gathering is. How big
Okay.
is it? How many people?
Okay. So this has been the largest conference for the association to date. There was over 13,000 people that attended, either virtually or in person. So you can imagine when I was at the conference, I mean, sometimes I was like walking side by side. Dr. Jeffrey Cummings, who is like, I'm a fan of his. He's an amazing doctor and researcher. And then to the left of me could be a student, an early career researcher. Or I would turn and Dr. Cummings is talking to an early career researcher. And I would say, "Hi, Dr. Cummings." And he would say, "Hello, Stephanie." I mean, everybody is just so nice, so approachable. It's crowded. Everybody's excited. There's so much energy. What's really cool is 93 countries were represented at AAIC this year. So I was in the exhibit hall and we were meeting with a researcher from the University of Miami. And she's like, "Oh, this is one of my mentors." And a gentleman from Nigeria was there with her. We actually filmed them talking. It was really short, about a minute and a half. It'll be on our blog later today. But it was just really cool to see that she's actually reaching out and partnering with different countries. And they're trying to build like this infrastructure so that they can reach more African Americans, is what they're trying to do. And not just here in the United States, but all over the world. And she's working in genetic research. So they're trying to get um, down to, they're building networks and stuff, but they want to gather blood samples so they can test different genetic lines too. So I mean, that's just one small thing that's happening. There's just so much. So you tell me what direction you want me to go in.
Well, tell me, first of all,
Yeah.
that obviously stuck out in your
Yes.
mind. Was there anything else that you took away? I know
Yeah.
days of this conference, but
Yeah.
what will you want to be one of the first things that you share with communities as you come back to
Yeah.
Florida?
Generally speaking, the field is moving so quickly. Like things are changing. We are in a new era of treatment for Alzheimer's disease. So we know that there are finally, yay, two medications that are FDA approved that changes the biology of the disease. So there was a lot of talk about biomarkers, and I'll define that. A biomarker is simply a way to test that there's something going on in the body. So, like diabetes, for example, we know if you know somebody that has diabetes, you can test to see where the blood level is, right? And then they have to take insulin if it's too high or whatever. So, with Alzheimer's disease, we need a simple way to see if the disease is present in the body. So, right now, FDA approved, we have a PET scan, which is very expensive, and we have
Yeah.
CSF fluid. So that's, going into the spinal cord and taking out fluid from the spine, which could be invasive. Um, and maybe not readily available. So it could be, an access issue. So other biomarkers are being talked about. Big news that came out, blood biomarkers are moving really quick. Right now, they are being used in the clinical trial setting. And I think very soon they're going to be available for like a physician's office. We're not ready yet. They're still trying to discuss little nuances or large nuances, if you will. Like if somebody has kidney disease, does this test need something else to make it not a false positive? And what if somebody is not really showing signs, but they're worried? Is it appropriate? And will the blood test be like a pre-test to determine if they need something else, like a PET scan? So I was talking to one researcher. It's actually somebody on our board for the Florida Gulf Coast chapter, Dr. Susan Steen, and she was just reminding me that a blood test is just one thing and it's not enough. We still need to have the cognitive assessments. We still are going to have other tests to really make sure that the disease is there and it's present in the brain.
But a blood test is something.
It is something, and
Extra.
yes, it's very exciting.
So the therapies, you mentioned the 2 drugs. Are there other things that maybe can be done? I don't know, any kind of more tests on the way you manage your lifestyle or anything like that came out?
So the US pointer study is going on right now. We will have data next year. So AAIC 2025 will have the US pointer data available. What that's going to do, it's going to give clinical evidence so that physician can actually write a prescription to help people have a healthier brain. Now, doing things to reduce your risk is not going to prevent Alzheimer's disease, but it's like, if you have heart disease, you're going to take some kind of a medication, and you're also going to do something to take care of your heart, right? Exercise, eating better. The same thing eventually is going to happen for Alzheimer's disease. There'll be not just 1, not just 2, it might be 3 very powerful therapeutics along with some lifestyle intervention. So combined together to work together. Right now, it is highly recommended that everybody thinks about reducing their risk and thinks about brain health, because we have control over that. We have control over taking care of our brains. The Lancet Commission just released the new 2024 at AAIC report, and it's pretty much the same thing, but they've added 2 things. One, they've added depression. So, lowering depression could lower your risk for dementia. So I would recommend that if people are interested, to look that up just to see what type of modifiable risk factors are on that report. Some of the things that the association talks about, though, is exercising, and exercising at your own pace. If you're not a runner, don't run. Walking would be just as fine. Or if you don't enjoy walking, maybe dancing is something for you. And dancing is, you usually do dancing in a social setting, and social engagement is so important. It's so important for our souls, but it's also important for your brain. And then, eating better. And this is some research that came out, was about the processed red meat. So I know bacon is delicious and I love it.
And burgers and all the rest of it.
I know, but it's not good for our brain. So unfortunately, they're finding that processed red meat. So I'm not talking about hamburgers. We're not talking about like steaks. We're talking about bacon, bologna, hot dogs, for example. If you eat those, it could have a negative impact on your brain. So we're talking very small servings too. So if you eat 2 slices of bacon in a week, that's pretty much all you can have the whole month.
Oh, wow.
According to the research. Yeah. So it's not good. So the good thing, though, is if you replace it with like legumes or beans or even peas, you can have a positive effect on your brain.
Okay, so that combined with the therapies is what is going to take us to that next level.
I think so, yes.
Okay, and this was also very interesting. Out of the meeting there, the big conference, this wasn't just a conference for neurologists, for specialists in Alzheimer's and dementia. I mean, you had primary care doctors there, you had companies there. Like, there were a lot of different types of people who come in contact with those with Alzheimer's.
Yeah, and yet people like me, I mean, I'm a research champion. You know, I'm not a researcher. I'm somebody that champions the research. You know, we need people that can actually talk about this and bring the information back to the community. We've got students there that are learning. 37% of the people that were there, it was their first time at an AAIC. So we've got new people coming in. You know, some of these people may not be from the Alzheimer's community. Some of these people are from, you know, they might be from cancer and are coming into the field to kind of help out. We're seeing repurposed medications. Some of these are diabetes medications, but they haven't been approved for Alzheimer's disease. But if they, so this is the repurposing, right? If they can show that a diabetes medication can work, let's say to reduce inflammation, or maybe to reduce the shrinkage of the brain so the brain doesn't shrink, which would be maybe inflammation, you know, reduce inflammation, then they could apply to the FDA for it to be used for Alzheimer's disease, and it would be a lot quicker. They won't have to start from scratch. So we are seeing that. We're seeing that different drugs from different areas are starting to come into the Alzheimer's field.
So you did mention, you know, we're talking about some of these therapies. There have been a couple that you mentioned that were recently approved. So looking into the near future, like you said, next year, 2025, are there some that we can look for, that we can expect? Someone whose parents are early onset, for example.
The GLP-1 drugs, those are the diabetes drugs. I think those are the ones that are going to be coming up next. So the one, it's called semaglutide, starts with an M, SEMAGLUTIDE. It is going to be the first of its kind in a large scale study for Alzheimer's disease. And it's happening right now. So they're recruiting right now. That's happening right now. We'll probably
What's
have
that one? What makes that one so special?
it's just a different type of this diabetes medication. So they're looking to see if it's neuroprotective. You know, that would be protecting the whole entire brain. So that's one of the outcomes of this other one. And they're both of the same class of drugs. It's the GLP-1 drug. So it's a diabetes drug, essentially.
So that's different in that the drugs that are currently on the market.
I'm going to say a name. I don't want people to go get it, but you've heard of Ozempic. Okay, everybody's heard of Ozempic. That's the class of drugs we're talking about. None of these drugs have proven. They're not FDA approved for Alzheimer's, so we shouldn't be going to our doctors asking for it. However, what's good and positive and hopeful is that researchers are testing them to see if they are appropriate, if they could help our brains out. And it looks like they might. So we just have to wait for the science to come out, but I'm thinking in a year we'll probably hear more about this. Also, tau. So we've heard a lot about amyloid and the removal of amyloid. That's what that monoclonal antibody is doing. It's removing amyloid. It's good for mild cognitive impairment of the Alzheimer's type, and it's good for early stage. It hasn't
just
been
remind me about amyloids. That's when the proteins
it's
start
a protein
packing in.
It's one of the hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease. So it's a protein that it's a protein found in the brain. We all have amyloid, but with Alzheimer's, the brain, it's not getting cleaned out. It's clumping together. It's making a mess, and it's killing brain cells. So this monoclonal antibody, it's going in and it's cleaning it out. You know, and once it's gone, you know, a person could maybe stop taking the monoclonal antibody. So they won't have to do the infusion anymore. I think this medicine is so new, they're still trying to determine when a person should stop. It might be that they would go once a month to take the medicine, just as, you know, as a precautionary measure. But
it's not a cure. It doesn't mean because the amyloids are gone, it doesn't mean that you're done with Alzheimer's.
Right, because there's other things happening. We have the tau, which is another protein, and then we have the inflammation. So that's why earlier I said it's probably going to be a combination approach. So, you know, if we remove the amyloid, well, we got to do something with the tau. Well, the good news is at AAIC, there was so many people talking about tau. the protein tau. And what's really exciting about tau, that sounds weird to me. I don't mean it this way. I mean it's wonderful that there's so much science around tau, because tau is found in other types of dementia, like frontal temporal dementia. So the science that's building around tau is going to benefit other types of dementia too. So that to me is exciting, that we're not just focusing on Alzheimer's. When we look at the science right now with the Alzheimer's Association, it's not just Alzheimer's disease, it's other types of dementia too. So there was a lot of people there that were talking about Lewy body dementia, Parkinson's disease, frontal temporal lobe dementia, vascular dementia, and there's a slew of others. Anyway, there was a lot of there's a lot of talk around tau, and and what kind of medications can we do for tau, what kind of biomarkers are going to be available to detect the tau and everything.
And the tau is the same issue. When they start clumping together, that's when things go haywire.
It's a little bit different, the mechanism of the tau, but yes, essentially the tau is damaging the brain, essentially.
Okay.
I found it interesting, also coming out of your conference, Lifetime Achievement Award. There are tons of awards. What did the person do to get a Lifetime Achievement Award at this conference?
Well, there was so many of them. One that I really want to mention. Well, there's two that come to mind, but one is he's from the University of Florida, and he helped start iStart. And iStart they almost have 13,000 members. Okay. And it's like a professional organization, students, clinicians, professionals, they come together and they network, they educate each other, and they all have a mission to improve the lives of people that might be experiencing Alzheimer's or some other dementia. And the power of iStart, you can see it at the conference, because people are walking around and they might have the iStart symbol under it, and they become friends for life, especially when they join these things they call PIAs, which is like a special interest area. So they have one on sleep. So if I'm interested in dementia and sleep, I might join this PIA, and then I meet all these other researchers that are interested in the same topic, and they're from around the world. They could be from Switzerland, China, Florida, wherever, but they're all working together. So their science is combining, which helps also to move the science forward.
Now, is that something that I, as a layman, just a regular citizen, can get on and take a look at and contact?
Anybody can join iStart. So you can join iStart. There's a fee. There's actually a 10% discount right now for people if you wanted to join iStart. So anybody can join it. It's more beneficial though for students, early career researchers, anybody that's wanting to get into the Alzheimer's space. There are professionals that join it. Like, I'm not a researcher, but I am an iStart member. I want to know more about the science. They have videos on there, and it's very science heavy. But I know there are other professionals that join too. The doctor that won that award is Dr. Stephen Dikowski, and he is from the University of Florida. He won the Bill Theis Award for a distinguished service, and it's because he helped form this iStart program. Another person that's really amazing is Goldie Bird. Have you heard of Dr. Bird?
No, tell me.
Her primary focus is the inclusion of special populations. And Keith Gibson is my coworker. We both were at the conference. We met with her, and she is just so lovely. We want to have her speak because it is so important, not just in Florida, but everywhere, that we include everybody in the science. And part of her mission is to look at how we can do that better. How can we reach all populations? Not just one. If we have a cure, wouldn't it be awful we had it just for one group? That would be terrible. We want it for everybody. So that's part of her mission, and she's been working on this for years and years. So she won an award not just for that, but everything else she has done in the Alzheimer's community. There was a couple other awards too, but I think those are the two that really stood out. These are people that have spent their entire lives doing this work. And I think what's interesting, I heard this gentleman say, how did he word it? I think, and he was whispering to his wife, and I think they were thinking that we were, and I'm not young. I mean, I'm in my 50s, but there's other people that are a lot younger. We need the youth. We need these young career researchers to come in. We need the mentorship because they are going to be the people that are leading the field later, So we are recognizing these lifetime achievers and we're looking at their work and we're building on it, but we also need everybody else. We need the students, we need the mentorship, and we need these lifetime achievers that have just taught us so much so we can build on the work.
If anybody is interested in going online to see what's come out of this conference, to take a look at some of the things that you're talking about in greater detail, where do people go to find that?
I think they should just Google AAIC. And there's an AAIC for all. It was recorded. This is a piece that I'm not sure of because it just happened today. I'm wondering, because it's recorded and it'll be on there for 30 days. I'm wondering if you can still register and watch that. The AAC for all. I'm already registered, so I can watch all the videos for 30 days. The AAIC for all is free. So if you register for that, you can watch it. So I would recommend watching that because you can hear some of the things that I am talking about, but in greater detail.
Gotcha. Was there anything else that came out of this conference that just has you so excited that you cannot wait to tell communities about here in Florida?
Well, there's just so much. What I want to mention, but I don't have a lot of detail on, is I want people to know that it's not just about medication. It's not just about detecting the disease and finding the treatment. There's also a lot of caregiver information there. How can care management work? How can that look? There's a guide model that's going to be coming out. It's rolling out. It's been going on for 1 month, by the way. It's an 8-year study that seems quite long. In Florida, there's 14 sites, but it's a way to make care management better. Essentially is what it is, which is wonderful.
Huge. There
was some talk about, oh my gosh, 8 years, people need this now. So I know that the Alzheimer's Association is actively seeking ways to make that less of a wait, I guess. We still need this rigorous type of thing. We still need this 8-year project, but while we have this 8-year project, people are living the disease. So let's help them now. If we can learn as we do it, let's try to implement that. And I think the Alzheimer's Association is really good at doing stuff like that.
So when might we be able to see that?
Well, the guide project's in Florida. Florida has 14 sites right now. So it's not going to be everywhere, but I know that Dr. Laird, who is in Orange County, Central Florida, she is part of the guide model.
Okay. So at least people can look it up.
Yes, and it's through CMS. I mean, CMS came to us, actually.
Through CMS.
The association was, trying to set up a guide, I guess, for clinical practices so that they knew these certain things would be good to help people when they were coming through the system. Think about cancer, for example. And I think I told you I'm a breast cancer survivor. So when I got diagnosed, yes, I am. I have my pink shirt on, actually.
Oh, congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you. But when I got diagnosed, there was certain things that I had to do, and it was so organized. I had a care coordinator and all this stuff. Alzheimer's is going to have that too, but we're not anywhere near where cancer is today, but we will be. So this care coordination that was in our facts and figures report, having this care management coordination type of person involved with caregivers is really important. So that's kind of what the guide is talking about, to help kind of facilitate this person-centered type of care so the person can live at home longer. There's less hospitalizations, there's less falls, there's more quality of life, not just for the person with the disease, but for the family.
How soon do you think that will come out, that type of care package?
It's happening right now at 14 sites in Florida.
Okay.
It's been going on for 1 month.
Is it happening in the Jacksonville area?
I'm not sure, but I know the lead study is in Jacksonville. Have you heard about the lead study? It's with, oh my gosh, Dr. Day. He's with Mayo Clinic. He's the head person over that. That's an early intervention study. If anybody is in the early stages, you need to know about the lead study. I'll give you that link too, so you can put it on your website. It's amazing. And the lead study actually follows the person and the family through the whole course of the disease, and it includes all their scans and everything.
Wow, it'll be interesting to see how long that's been going on and what information they've already gleaned from that.
Yes, yes. Dr. Day's amazing. I actually saw him with another of his co-workers at AAIC. I didn't get to talk to them or go to their presentations. Unfortunately, there was so much going on, but he has been in the community for a while, and he is in your backyard right there.
You were mentioning that you were mentioning that there was a lot of machinery, tools,
Yes.
new tools for doctors to use.
Yeah, so at AAIC, there's also a lot of exhibitors. So you see, you know, any the two medications that are coming out, their manufacturers were there, and they were serving coffee to help people come over. I mean, it's like lattes. Like, I was spoiled the whole time. But there was also like a mobile MRI machine, which was really cool. I got to scan my brain. I had to sign a waiver saying that, yes, I understand this is not, you know, clinical or whatever, but now I have a scan of my brain, which is super cool.
But it can come to you. It can come to the patient who might not be able to get out and about.
Yeah, they're researching that product right now. But yeah, they were there to just show doctors what's available, because I guess they're using this mobile MRI in different settings, but they haven't used it in the Alzheimer's space, because with the new medications, this is getting kind of complicated, but with the new medications, if you have 2 copies of the APO4 gene, which is just a risk gene. If you have 2 copies of them, like one for your mom and one from your dad, then your risk of having ARIA is higher. And the scary word for ARIA is bleeding of the brain, which is really scary. I don't mean to laugh. I'm laughing because we try to say ARIA so people don't get too worried, but not everybody will get it. Anywho, if you have 2 copies, then your risk is higher for that. So anyway, you'd want to have an MRI scan to make sure your brain is okay. So you can imagine there's probably companies out there that are trying to like jump on that, because I mean, if they have a product, they might be able to go into the Alzheimer's space. So I got a free brain scan because of that, but it's just for fun. Like, it's not clinical, but
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
And what other tools did you see there?
They had, and I didn't do it. My friend that's another research champion did it, but it wasn't an Oculus, but it was like a helmet, like an Oculus, where you would put it on and look, and it's like a 3D thing, and it was tracking her eye movement, and it was kind of like a memory test or a cognitive assessment based on her eye movement. And I guess she scored really good on most of it, except for attention. But the guy said everybody that did it in the room had issues with attention, because it was so loud in the exhibit hall, you know, that everybody was like kind of not really paying attention, or couldn't fully pay attention. What else was there? Oh my gosh.
Fascinating.
I know. I can't think of everything else right now.
That's okay. That's great. That will work with that.
This is awesome. I can't even thank you enough, Stephanie, for sharing all this information.
You're welcome. And we probably just brushed the surface. So anytime you want us back, we'd be happy to share.
Thank you.
Welcome.